you tired of games of the year and 100-unit locks? If so, check out the professional handicappers at WagerTalk.com today. We leave all that nonsense for the other guys. And for a limited time, new users get their first daily picks purchase up to $40 for only $1. $1? Whose idea was that? Johnny Detroit? I guess so. To redeem this special, just go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper and their picks package using coupon code TRYWagerTalk when checking out.
Good morning, guys. Welcome back right here to WagerTalk TV episode of Puck Time. I'm happy to be back. I had a little day off on Friday for a move, but I heard it was an interesting show anyway, Carm, so I'm happy to be back. Anyway, it was a great weekend. I hope all of you guys are doing very well. The playoff push is almost here. Of course, I have Carmine Bianco, my co-host and partner in crime, joining me, and Mr. Dave Cokin in his usual Monday spot. A great slate of games on tap here today. But I do want to mention my partner here, Carmine Bianco, on fire in the NHL. Carmine, the run is looking like, what is it right now? 53 and 33. I had to check that. I want to make sure I get it right. 53 and 33 since the start of April in the NHL. That is not a small scale, guys. That is a large sample size of what Carmine Bianco is doing in the NHL. So congrats, Carmine. Huge run since the start of April, man.
Yeah, it's been fun, and we're going to kind of go back and forth on this before we bring in the man himself. But you're on a good run, man. 22 and 3, I saw. NHL is what, 37 and 18, and then we go outside of that into baseball, and you're like 4-0 and your 5% plays. And the word is you are the $2 capper tomorrow. So we look forward to seeing what you've got there, and we'll promote it tomorrow. But yeah, NHL is great. There's going to be a lot of line volatility over the next week and a half as we close out the schedule. Teams are using taxi goalies. They might be managing minutes. So when you see a line, kind of like the Florida one that we're going to talk, where the line drops like 40, 50 cents, keep an eye on who the starting goalies are. And you should really be following team reporters, because they report that stuff first, and you can get ahead of the line movements if so be, right? So with that said, let's bring in the man himself. I love having him on Mondays, Dave Cokin.
Howdy, guys.
Dave, how you
nice
doing?
Nice to be with you. I'm doing all right. You know, baseball the past week was a little disappointing, but still number one overall in baseball on this season and last season as well at WagerTalk. And the hockey, I'm just updating it actually right now. Plus 62.65 units for the season, hitting better than 60%. That's real good.
Dave,
there won't be much this week, I can tell you that, because I don't like this last week before the playoffs, and we'll explain why as we go along here. But it's been good. I'm real happy with that. I have a $9 baseball best bet that's up right now at WagerTalk. I just posted it, and so grab that one. It's a nice underdog, and I think you're going to get some money with that one.
Yeah, and before I throw back to Andrew, Dave, you're not going to win every single baseball bet, but your record speaks for itself the last couple of years, especially. So, and anyone would be a fool not to jump on a long-term package with you as far as that sport and NHL goes. Andrew, it's all yours, my friend.
Yeah, and make sure you guys are checking out the First Pitch show as well. Drew Martin hosting that show. Dave Cokin is on it a fair amount of time. And great show, informative, fun, and great information, guys. So check that out as well on this YouTube channel. But today's games, guys, we'll run through these real quick. Dallas, Florida, Vegas, Minnesota, Carolina, Chicago, Toronto, Montreal, and Edmonton, Vancouver. The first game, Carm, is going to be the Dallas Stars and the Florida Panthers going head-to-head. And Carm, you mentioned it, man. We need people to follow these beat reporters, check things out, make sure you have the starting goaltenders, make sure you know which players are in the lineup. Panthers minus 130, Stars plus 110. And this honestly could have also been our line change game here, Carm. A lot of line movement in the NHL, as we don't usually see that. But this Stars team, 3 straight games for them, 3 straight losses. They scored just 1 goal in those 3 games. Haven't looked too impressive right now. I look at them right now. They're playing Nashville. They play Tampa Bay. I understand that. But at the end of the day, this team has been far too inconsistent for me, whereas the Panthers 3 straight wins for them. They've had an unbelievable record against teams with a losing record, that haven't really done too well all season. They've been consistent. They've put up goals consistently. And the Dallas Stars just haven't really done that. And the biggest thing that we mentioned on the show last week was that they at least were able to count on goaltending. And this year, they can't even get that as much. So when you're allowing 3-4 goals, plus you can't score yourself, it's a huge issue. But tonight, we have a goaltender making a debut here for the Florida Panthers. He hasn't had much action recently, as you were talking about off air to me, Carm. How does that impact your decision here? Because what I've noticed this year is that goaltending really hasn't changed the way games panned out, whether it's been a starter or a backup. This year, more than any other year, it seems like the goaltender has been a lot more irrelevant, so to speak.
Yeah, it's tough. And I'm going to kick, before I talk about this game, I'm going to quickly say to our followers out there, really appreciate you guys hanging in on Friday. We had some technical difficulties. And then I just couldn't stop laughing when Prez's face froze on the screen. And then we had technical difficulties with our best bets on the show, with the Prez and I losing on that Winnipeg game, the under and Winnipeg. And Andy's game was a late scratch with Jonathan Marchessault not playing in the game. So we'll try and be better as we move forward. But that said, listen, this Florida line dropped, and I talked about it. This is, I know must-win games doesn't mean a team's going to win, but Dallas is 3 back with a game in hand, and this essentially is a must-win game for them. And they're going to get maybe a bit of a break because the goaltender for Florida has been named, and it's Philippe Desrosiers, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and I hope I am. He has not played, nothing that I can find on any database, and the Hockey DB shows his last action was in 2019-2020 for the Springfield Thunderbirds. So, with that said, I'm sure he's getting some practice time in the morning skates. But as far as Florida goes, Carolina's probably got that division, even though they only have a 2-point lead, locked up. They've got a game in hand on Tampa and a couple on Florida. And the Florida-Tampa, who finishes second in that division if the Canes don't falter, is going to come down to the final 2 games of the season where Tampa and Florida play. So maybe this is a way of Florida giving their goalies a night off and just preparing for the playoffs. With that said, I originally leaned to the under here. I'm going to take the small dog here just because I don't have enough data on this goalie, and I just don't see how someone who doesn't have any NHL action and any AHL action of late comes in against a team that may not score a lot of goals but are desperate. So I'll take the slight dog here and Dallas plus 110.
Carmine looking at the dog, Dallas plus 110, and can't really argue that with a goaltender that none of us have ever even heard of. But the only rebuttal I'd say is, he's getting the nod for a reason. The coaches must trust him for a reason. Dave, this team, the Panthers, have done really well as home favorites, really well on the season at home. How do you look at this game?
Well, look, I mean, I don't know. The Panthers are kind of saying that this game doesn't mean a whole lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, if it did, this guy's not playing goal. And I don't know that I want to back a team that's already been sent that message by the coaching staff. The problem is you're not getting any value on Dallas because the market recognized the same thing and had the same opinion and bet the game down. So you're only getting plus 115 on Dallas. I mean, I guess obviously the game means more to the Stars, but you're just not getting your money's worth on it. So if you're asking me who I think's going to win, I guess I'd say Dallas, but if it's plus 130 or something like that, I might go for it. But plus 15, I just don't see the point of it. That's, to me, getting the worst of the number, even if you have the better side.
Well,
Andrew,
if I can just
jump in.
Yeah,
if I can just jump in a second.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, and just to add to, or to give Dave info, what I mean? Like when I'm talking about goalies, I follow the goalie project on Twitter. As he gives out the most up-to-date information, and he posted that it was Philippe. He has since retweeted an update saying that it's going to be Spencer Knight, and that Desrosiers will back up in that game.
That makes a difference. because Spencer Knight's their goalie of the future.
Spencer Knight will start tonight. He'll back up. It's just confirmed.
Okay, so that actually changes my opinion on the game. To me, the value now would be on the Florida side.
Yeah, I already lean towards the Panthers, and hearing that information right now, I'm on goaliepost.com. That's a website I love to use. Spencer Knight has been confirmed, and he was great, first of all, guys, at the World Juniors. Now he's played a few games in the NHL, looked really comfortable. I think he's been rock solid. You love to see a guy just like control their rebounds very well. That's how you tell if a goaltender is looking comfortable in nets. Not as much their goals against average, their save percentage, but are they controlling their rebounds well? It looks like he is. Dave, I know we don't want to spend too much time on this segment, but
I just want to bring this up.
Go right ahead.
I would not rule out the possibility of Spencer Knight ending up seeing some important action come playoff time. He might be the best goalie on this team.
Definitely.
I mean, I've been impressed by him. He comes in with real good credentials. And, let's go it straight. Bobrovsky is not taking this team to the Stanley Cup Finals, okay? And neither is the other guy, Drager. I think that's still the most vulnerable area for this team because they're loaded every place else. And this might actually be an audition for him. If he can play well in these games down the stretch, I don't think it's impossible that we see him in the playoffs, especially if anybody in front falters. I mean, can you see Bobrovsky? I mean, can this team look at Bobrovsky and say, yeah, he's our guy?
I don't think so.
Can't see that.
I don't think so. That's the thing. All it takes is a hot goaltender to go on a great playoff run. Like you said, Dave, they have the tools. They have the scoring. There's no doubt about that. So that's a good point. Spencer Knight has been rock solid. We'll see how it goes tonight. But Carm, I guess we'll give you a quick chance to say, does that change your bet?
Yeah, it does, because the goalie thing. I was off of the under 6-1 so far in the 7 games these two teams have played, and with a couple of good goalies in, it obviously does change it. So I'll go back to my original lean. I hate to flip flop on you guys, but my original lean of taking the under in this game, the under 5.5.
All right, guys, our marquee matchup game of the day is going to be a good one. This is going to be a great game here. I'm going to go to you, Dave, the resident Nevadian. Is that a word to use? The local Nevadian. Okay, the local Nevadian. Sorry, the Golden Knights. Hey, I gave it a shot, Dave. I gave it a shot. The Golden Knights and the Minnesota Wild. The Golden Knights are minus 125, Wild plus 105. Total sits at 5.5. And I'm going to say this, I've noticed a trend, Dave, that I've been betting and having success with over the past 2 weeks. As far as the totals go, I know you aren't a huge totals guy in NHL, but with games that have a lot of meaning and with top tier teams and divisions, I've been looking under. Games like last week, my 5% play with Vancouver and Ottawa, it's pond hockey. They don't care about defense. They're out there to score and have fun. I'm curious what you think about this game and what the advantage goes for both teams, because I feel like Golden Knights could be a correlated parlay or correlated play to the under, but the Wild, the only way they're winning this game, in my opinion, is if this game is a goal fest, because I don't think they can hold the Vegas Golden Knights to a few goals. They will have to be a goal fest for them to get the best of the Golden Knights. I mean, let's look at it, man. Marc-Andre Fleury could be a Vezina. He has been unbelievable on the season. The goaltending tandem has been unbelievable in general for the Vegas Golden Knights, but the Wild, it's time for us to stop ignoring them and look at what they've done this season over the past 3 weeks, even the stretch they've had. They blew a lead to the Blues, then came back again, or they were down and then came back. They almost lost 3 straight. This team has a lot of heart, but now they're playing the big boy in the Vegas Golden Knights.
I don't know what to make of this, because the Golden Knights are the better team. They still want to get that number 1 spot in the division, which they consider very important. But for whatever reasons, ever since they came into the league, they've had trouble with Minnesota. I can't explain it. They actually should handle this team. On paper, it's a good matchup for them because they're a transition team, and they're faster than the Wild. But it doesn't play out that way on the ice. I can't explain it. I mean, I'm not going against the Knights here. I think they're playing better hockey than Minnesota. I think I had the Wild in their last game, and how fortunate was that? Get a goal in the last minute to tie it up and then win it in overtime. It doesn't happen all that often. So I was real happy with that result. But I think the Golden Knights beat them, but I can't be confident about it, considering that just for whatever reason, this team's their nemesis.
Dave, I was right there with you on that play, actually. And I think that night you and I had both the same plays. I believe you had just 2 plays. I also had just 2 plays, and we both got them right there on that night. So let's try and keep that going. But Carm, my play is the over here, man. Wild 8-2 to the over the last 10 games as an underdog. It seems to me when they're in the underdog position, when they're playing a top tier team like Colorado, like Vegas, it's an absolute goal fest, man. Do you agree?
Yeah, it could be. I think the total's like 3-2-1 between these two teams. Listen, I still think, I keep changing my opinion on who might be the best team in this division, but it's almost like 1 and 1A between Vegas and Colorado. And it's just a shame that, we don't take the seedings of the 16 teams that make the playoffs, and you let 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15 like they used to do in the old days. But
you can't do that.
And I'm an old guy. I like that because I'd rather see Vegas and Colorado in a cup final.
I got to jump in because I completely disagree with you on that. Normally, I would say yes, but they've only played in their own division this year. You can't penalize a team from an easier division that gets less points and seed them lower. You can't. It's got to be. It's the only way they could do it this year is do the playoffs in division. I mean, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
On the one hand, but you can't do a 1 through 16 this year.
But Dave, you would agree that if we did a 1 versus 16, Colorado and Vegas would be way up there. That's all he's saying. That's all he's saying.
The point I'm making, Dave. The point I'm making is it would be great to have a 1 versus 16 because it would allow us to see likely a Colorado and Vegas, if they are the 2 best teams in the league, it would allow us to. Instead of a team like Toronto who beat up on 7 pansies in Canada, and they're likely going to get a shot in the semifinals.
But that you can't penalize Toronto because you think they wouldn't have done as well in another division. I mean, I think
they just
so
wouldn't
too,
have.
but you can't seed on. Well, I think this. You can only seed on what happened, and they're in a division where they get a break.
I saw somebody say something online, and Montreal is the 4th seed, and they're going to get demolished in the playoffs. And somebody else replied back and said, whoever is the 4th seed would have gotten crushed in the playoffs in the North Division. It's the weakest division. Certain divisions are stronger.
At least we think it is. We think
exactly,
it is.
Dave. Exactly.
But again,
and we think the East is the toughest division.
Okay, if results were based on what we think, we'd all hit 100% on our plays.
Aren't Colorado and Vegas in the top 5 in the league for standings?
Well, yeah, they are. I'm not arguing that. On paper, they're probably they might very well be the 2 best teams in the league, but you can't just say, they're the 2 best teams, so they should be seeded 1 and 2 overall. You can't do that.
Yeah, I get it.
No,
makes sense
to me.
My
point was and we need to get back to the other games that we have. In a perfect world, if we had a 1 versus 16, it's the only way we could probably see these 2 teams. We're never going to see these 2 teams in the Stanley Cup finals together. But in a realignment during COVID, if we were going to see it, this would be the way. Would be a 1 through 16. And I get you haven't played any of the weaker teams or any of the other teams, so maybe your point standings are skewed. We'll see that come playoff time because of the reseeding in the playoffs, and we'll see what happens with the reseeding when we're down to the final 4, because they're going to reseed the final 4 based on the points they accumulated against weaker teams. So you might get a Toronto who is a number 1 seed in the semifinals against 3 other very good teams. That very well could happen. Anyways, as far as my opinion on this game is, I think Vegas doesn't have a great record in Minnesota, but they might be catching a Minnesota team that could be emotionally spent after 3 really tough games against a St. Louis team that's playing playoff hockey now. They left it on the ice in all 3 games. We saw these teams coming back from 3-1 deficits, 3-0 deficits. The game's going to OT. We'll see how they rebound tonight. But they could be it could very well be a flat spot, and you're getting Vegas at a good price at -125 to get their first win in Minnesota. And it's a meaningful game for Vegas, so they're not taking the night off.
They definitely won't be taking the night off. I think it'll be a pretty good game. Obviously, it's our marquee matchup. I can't wait to watch it, guys, from a viewership standpoint, especially with some goals, hopefully. I'm on the over in this game. Our next game up here, guys, this one should be a good one. And Carmine, you use the expression flat spot. We have the Carolina Hurricanes taking on the Chicago Blackhawks here. Number is -260, originally -235. But the word flat spot applies here maybe because Carolina played Columbus, Detroit, and Dallas 5-1, 3-1, 2-1. 3 straight dominant games for them. Then we look at Chicago and we see them playing Florida back-to-back times, then Tampa, then a hungry Nashville team. The list goes on with the competition that these teams have faced. The problem is Chicago has had a horrible time over the past few weeks against teams with a winning record. And at home, Carolina has crushed teams with a losing record. So we're looking at this price here. It's a very, very expensive price. But statistically, historically, it seems like right now, Carolina is protecting home ice. They're playing well against these teams that they should beat. And I'm looking at them here. I'm going ahead and playing the -1 half bet puck line, half bet money line here, and grabbing the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, I'm going to make it quick on this one. Listen, Chicago had a chance to make the playoffs, but they had 5-game homestand. They lost 4 or 5 games and essentially eliminated them. I think with a loss tonight, they are eliminated. Carolina has something to play for. They're first in the division. You finish first in the division, and you're going to avoid Tampa Bay and Florida in the first round of the playoffs. And I think that's what they're aiming for. It's on them. I think like I said, I think they have the best home record in this division. While you might not want to lay that big juice, you could take them in regulation time, and it's about -155, 160. Or you can take Carolina and take them in a 2-team parlay with Edmonton, who I think also is going to win tonight. And you can get those 2 teams at about +108 in a 2-team money line parlay. I just don't see either one of those 2 teams losing, but it's Carolina for me tonight.
Dave, obviously a big number here, man, but what are you doing here in this game?
Oh, I don't want anybody but Carolina. I mean, the team doesn't lose. They've only lost 10 regulation games all season, which is the best in the league. And I think it'll be interesting come playoff time because, again, a lot of people saying Vegas, Colorado, the 2 best teams in the league. Tampa's the defending champions. They always get mentioned as a top 3. I think Carolina, you can make a pretty good argument. They might be the best team in the league. We'll have to wait and see. And by the way, it's still important because, as you mentioned, they are going to do some reseeding. Carolina is looking to win the outright title for the regular season. They are right now number 1 in the league at 75 points. So I think they want to keep it going and get that number 1 overall. And they, at this point, the Blackhawks. I think the Blackhawks overachieved for a good part of the season. They're probably at the level they're supposed to be right now. Carolina should win comfortably.
Get that puck line at a pretty decent price. You can play the -1. Regulation is like -150, so still a really inexpensive price. But like Dave said, I'm not looking at any other side besides Carolina, but it is quite expensive. Potentially looking at the -1 play in this one. And Dave, I hope you're right, man. Carmine and I both have future bets on the Hurricanes. I had them at 15-1 to take home Lord Stanley. I'm not really a huge future guy usually, but got that wager in a few weeks ago. So hopefully they can make their way to the Stanley Cup Finals. Our chase segment today, guys, is the Maple Leafs and the Habs. Sorry, Dave, you wanted to say something real quick?
No, it was nothing. So let's skip it.
Leafs are -160. The Habs are +135. This is actually, a rivalry that we've seen for years, many more years before I was even on this earth. When the original 6 was a thing. And now these teams are going to play each other several times to close this season out. I think the odds makers, or not the odds makers, the schedule makers, they know what they're doing. They know what's going to appeal to the fans. They know what's going to make things interesting towards the end of the season. And they always start the season off with these two teams playing, and they end the season off with these two teams playing. Carmine, the last time we were on this show, you mentioned it was a flat spot for the Montreal Canadiens. I thought it was a flat spot for both teams, but obviously the Maple Leafs have been the far superior team, especially as far as consistent scoring goes. Let's be honest, this team is stacked for scoring. Austin Matthews right now is pretty much scoring a goal a game, if not more than that. What do you think about this game at minus 160 here for the Maple Leafs?
While I think it's the right price, I don't want any part of the game. I'll be honest with you. Montreal's 2 back of Winnipeg now for third spot. So if they want to avoid the Leafs, they should try and beat the Leafs tonight, because Winnipeg's having their own problems as well too. So, but the problem is, I don't know what Toronto. I don't know what Toronto's going to do tonight. I don't know if they've got first spot locked up. I'm not saying they're taking any nights off, but we don't know if Sheldon Keefe is going to rotate his side. He's or manage the minutes. For guys like Matthews and Marner and Tavares. We don't know. We know who his goalie is. Campbell's starting. Right. It's Jake Allen for Montreal. They're both confirmed as of this morning. This one's not going to be on my card. I just don't know. Like, I look at if I had to have an opinion, Andrew, I might actually take the over here and just think that in a game where there's not a lot of high intensity play, that it's a looser game, not pond hockey per se, but something along those lines. The total's 5.5. If there was 6, I would completely pass on this and have no opinion. But if anything, I'm going to lean to the over here. I just don't want to lay $1.60, not knowing what Toronto's bringing to the game tonight. I'll give you one other fact, because we always have Buster on Tuesdays on this show, and it seems like the Canadiens love winning on Mondays. The record for the Canadiens on Mondays, which is completely irrelevant when you're making a bet, but they are 7-2 this year on Mondays.
I know that stat is irrelevant for anybody that watches the show. They know why Carmine mentioned that, because Buster and I are always raving about our Canadiens and talking about them. But do you guys remember, everybody out there watching, the fact that Montreal had to go, I think it was a week and a half or 2 weeks without playing due to COVID protocol? I'm sure everybody remembers that. So that period of time, they won right before that time off happened, and they won their game right when they came back. The reason I bring that up, because that was their first back-to-back win since like around Christmas time. And that doesn't even really count as a back-to-back win, because there were like 2 weeks, in between those games. Those 2 games, Winnipeg and Ottawa, were the first real back-to-back victories for the Canadiens. And I kid you not, several months, guys. And they were both come from behind victories. So got to be feeling good about yourselves, but at the same time, not really something you want to be proud of, going down against Ottawa, going down against struggling Winnipeg. But Dave, like Carm said, right now they're actually in a position to avoid the Maple Leafs in the first round.
Yeah, I guess. I have nothing on the game. Patrick Roy, I think, is going to be the next coach of the Canadiens. That's the most interesting thing I can say about this game. Patrick Roy has rehired an agent and is looking to get back behind the bench. I think he'll be in Montreal next season. There's your future.
Dave, I think that would be an absolute disaster. It's my own thought there.
Might be.
He's a one-trick pony. He's not a coach. But
okay.
Yeah, no. I know what you're saying.
I'm just making a prediction. Whether he'll be good or not, I don't know.
Well, my prediction is it won't be an English-speaking coach. That's for sure, because they only hire French guys. So Claude Julien, Michel Therrien, they'll get recycled around a couple more times probably. Let's get into our barn burner, Edmonton and Vancouver. We're going to look at this game as a totals perspective. And I have said this, and I'm going to keep saying it. Games involving Vancouver, it's going to be over for me, especially against teams as talented like the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers right now are pushing the pace, guys. I've tried to make a little bit of a reputation of being a props guy. Not big time, did well in the NFL with it. Stepping in closer to the playoffs is where I start doing a lot of NHL props. And I think if you're betting this game, you're going to look at continuing to ride the wave with Connor McDavid over 1.5 points. Connor McDavid to score a goal. I mean, the way that sports betting is changing, guys, and these sports books have so many options and so much availability for your betting. Look at the Maple Leafs, guys. Look at the prices that they lay every single night. But you can get Austin Matthews to score a goal at plus 100 every night. Minus 110. Austin Matthews to score a goal. How many times do they win games when he scores a goal? You know, right here, same thing with Connor McDavid. You know, good option if you want to bet Edmonton. Bet some props on Draisaitl. Bet something on McDavid. Just my 2 cents, guys. But I'm going over the total. Vancouver hasn't really showed much care on defense, but I feel like they will try and, you know, finish out the season with a little bit of pride, at least offensively. But they won't be able to hold back Edmonton right now. Edmonton is unbelievable. McDavid is playing at another level. He makes it look so effortless. So, Dave, my lean here, total over 6. Not an official play for me. Won't be on my client card or anything, but over 6. But I do recommend people checking out those prop plays.
I'll agree with the over. I think Edmonton wants to get McDavid to 100 points and get him the Hart Trophy. And Vancouver's, they sure look like they're going through the motions. I wonder if there's going to be a coaching change there in the offseason, because this team has kind of mailed it in. And it looks now like they're going to finish last, which is not good for a playoff team last year that actually gave the Golden Knights a pretty good battle before bowing out. And they're going to finish behind Ottawa. Ottawa showed a lot more want in those games last week, by the way. I agree with the over. I think this will be a loose game, and you'll see some scoring.
Yeah, that team's going to have to blow up a little bit. We're going to have to see some changes from that team. That young core isn't it for Vancouver. They're too soft, I think. They're too inconsistent. They need to blow that team up a little bit, Carm. But what are your thoughts on this game?
Terrible.
Yeah, definitely.
The problem with Andrew being off like almost a month because of that COVID break that they had is they just never recovered from it. They might have had a couple wins, but if you saw the game on the weekend, Travis Green almost blew a gasket yelling at his players during a timeout. I don't know what it was. And how did they respond? They didn't. They're completely gassed in losing that game 5-1. And that was on the heels of losing the game before that 4-1. And now they're returning home off that road trip and play an Edmonton team who's going to have a jump in this game. My only fear with taking the over, and I do like the over, is the fact that it might be Edmonton that needs to do all the scoring here. We might not get anything from Vancouver. We're going to see Vancouver. They have 11 games left because of this, and they're literally playing every other night and back-to-back nights. They're going to be teams are going to be favored by minus 120, minus 130, minus 140 the rest of the way against this team. They're completely gassed. You know what I mean? I don't want to overreact, but this is one of those ones where it's like Edmonton in regulation, minus 130, Edmonton puck line, minus 1.5, plus 125. Parlay them with Carolina at plus 108. If Vancouver can show some life tonight, I don't know where they got it from, but this is Edmonton and the over for me.
And to fill in that blank there for you, Carm, as far as, if one team carries the load and you like Edmonton, maybe check out that team total on Edmonton over 3.5. Vancouver last 3 games have easily allowed, 4, 5, 6 goals. So they are allowing goals like it's nothing. Dave, I'm going to go to you for a show best bet. Anything you can give us that you might have a recommendation for a best bet here for the viewers, and what you have up at $9 Monday. You can find, of course, Carmine, Dave, and myself at WagerTalk.com.
A $9 best bet in Major League Baseball. No hockey as of now. It'll be very thin this week. Best bet on the show. Listen, Florida this cheap at home with a kid I really like in goal in Spencer Knight. Okay, I'll bite Florida Panthers.
Well, I'm right there with Dave. I'm on the Panthers as well. Spencer Knight has been unbelievable. It's a great price. I recommend people get there right now, get to the window right now and grab that play. Don't wait too long until that number starts to move. I think Knight has been great. I think Panthers have the great scoring ability. And desperation, must win, doesn't always mean will win, guys. And people will chase those games all day long. I don't think Dallas comes out on top tonight. And I have a full all-access NHL pass up at WagerTalk. It's a light day for me in the MLB. I just have 2% plays. But 22-3, guys, is the all-sports run. I don't like patting myself on the back too much, but that's one of the best runs I've ever been on. 22-3, last 25 all-sports games. So running pretty hot, guys. Take advantage of that offer for both Dave, Carmine, and myself. Buy 1 month, get one free. You can find that at all of our Capper profile pages. It's a great deal. And just like Dave and Carmine always say, WagerTalk does a great job providing us with all these great deals and packages for you guys. Take advantage, buy 1 month, get one for free. Dave and I are on the Panthers, Carm. Where you going, man?
I would love to say the Panthers as well, too. And yeah, I do agree on the Panthers, but I'm going to go a different route. I think this is the first time all season on Puck Time where I've put out a best bet that is a parlay. And I've mentioned it twice on the show already. Carolina Hurricanes, Edmonton Oilers, 2-team parlay. It works out to plus 108. I just checked it to make sure it's still at plus 108. I believe both of them get it done today, and it's plus money on this, which is always good. And so with that said, one play up in NHL tonight. It is a 5% play, so hopefully you guys grab it for $9. And a couple games this afternoon in soccer also up for $9.
All right, guys, and Karma's absolutely kicking ass since the start of April. Great run in the NHL. Dave has had an outstanding season. I feel like it's been him, Prez, and Brian Leonard going head to head for that #1 spot with the NHL rankings. Carmine, his best bet with the Edmonton and Carolina moneyline parlay at a plus 110 price. And Dave and I both with the Panthers, guys. Best of luck. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow right here on WagerTalk TV.